Understand from you, how is the Indian government looking at the multipolar world today, India's role in it, and specifically in terms of the roadmap to be able to get to whether it's 5 trillion or 10 trillion, where do you believe we stand on the reform roadmap? How much more work needs to be done?
Thank you, Shireen. India has approached this entire transition which is happening in the world on multiple dimensions. One, the first dimension is to make sure that India's economy is resilient. There is a good, consistent 6 to 8% growth rate for a complete decade. It's not just 1 year or 2 year kind of thing. The thought process and the policy framework which follows is for a complete decade, 6 to 8% growth with very moderate inflation. The second dimension is when the world is looking for resilient supply chains, and as you said in your opening statement, India has a very young population. So how do we attract large number of supply chain participants to India? How do we make it resilient? He put entire capital of the country into investment in infrastructure. Now investment in railways, last year the capex was 23 billion US. This year the capex is, this fiscal which ends on 31st March, the capex is going to be of the order of 26 billion US. Same is the story in railway, in highway, in power transmission. That increases the productivity of the country and gives us the long-term growth potential of the country improves. It's resulting into huge employment generation. Today the country is adding on an average 1.5 million people into formal jobs every month. So that kind of those decisions have shaped the country's destiny over the last few years, and that has put us on a very consistent growth path of 6 to 8%. India is used to an inflation rate of 5 to 7% because large part of our energy is imported. So having inflation today at 5.8, 5.9%, that's the latest print. That's very moderate. So high growth, moderate inflation. This we were able to achieve because Prime Minister took very pragmatic and a very focused approach. One very important part of this entire decision making was Prime Minister ensured that the fiscal policy and monetary policy, they work in tandem. There are so many examples in the world, I wouldn't take any names, where the fiscal policy was going in one direction and the monetary policy was going in another. Our central bank didn't have to drop the interest rates like a brick, didn't have to increase the interest rate like a balloon. It was a very moderate, very balanced view of things. So our central bank today is in a very good position with a good balance sheet of the central government. Our central government's liabilities are just about 52% of the GDP, and GDP growing nominal at 11-12% is a very good situation to be in. So I think, yes, fiscal consolidation is a very important priority. But what is important is we have to look at growth as the primary driver, moderate inflation as the primary decision point, and combine the fiscal and monetary policy to continue that momentum for next 10 years.